on, everybody? Doing this video here is kind of long overdue. Basically, I'm going to do a kind of a question and answer type of video here. You guys have been commenting on all my videos and with some questions, and I want to try to answer everyone's questions. Basically, how I'm going to do this, I'm going to go through and start with kind of the newest ones and work my way back. Yeah, like I said, hopefully answer your guys' questions here. So we'll start right at the top here. So someone asked me what the LED strips above all the windows, and you saw it probably in my last video, throughout the house, and running various places. They're not Philips Hue light strips. Those are expensive. I think they're whatever, $100 a strip or something like that. These are simple RGB strips that you can buy from Amazon. You can buy them from eBay, anywhere pretty much. And what I did do though is get rid of that, basically chucked out that little controller it comes with, and bought a Fibro Z-Wave RGB controller. Now that allows me to tie it into Smartthings and turn it on and off, change colors, things like that. And then how I got it to work throughout the whole house is a little tricky. I actually disconnected the phone jack, because I only use a landline. I have one phone that sits here in the kitchen. And I used actually the phone wire. It's a 4-wire connection. So it worked out perfectly for running all the RGB lights throughout the house. And so basically I fed into that phone jack signal. Obviously you had to do some stuff outside. I don't recommend this if you don't know what you're doing. And that way I was able to get, because usually there's a phone jack in every room in older houses, things like that. So I was able to run the RGB signal to every single room and have LED strips throughout the whole house. Again, that's all being done with that Fibro Z-Wave controller, so I'm able to turn it on and off with Smartthings and change colors, things like that. So, alright, so next question. This person says, I have a home sound system. Can you talk more about how you control the volume of each zone? If you do control each zone, can I do this with Smartthings? I kind of touched base on this in my last video. So I'm not using Sonos, and I haven't really found the need to use it yet. I do have multiple zones in this house, but they're pretty much all controlled with a manual switch over there. But what I did recently do is add an amplifier with a Z-Wave switch to get that kind of zone control. And that amplifier, it's just a cheap little 90-watt amplifier I got off Amazon. Go ahead and pick your choice. And then I got a little 35-watt Z-Wave on-off switch. And so now with Smartthings, I can either pick up Smartthings and hit zone, outside speakers on, off, or I can even talk to the Echo and turn the zone on or off. I have no volume control, but I can turn it on and off, which I think is honestly good enough for what I need to do. Because basically, like I said, if I'm listening to music inside, I'm about to go outside, I just tell the Echo unit, turn the outdoor speakers on, walk outside, and music's playing out in the deck and the backyard. So that is how I get my zone. You can't control volume separately, things like that. You have to start getting into multi-zone receivers or Sonos. So that is how I do my zones. Another question here, and it's kind of been reoccurring, is basically this person asked, I've been having reliability issues, mainly with smart apps, things like that, and people have been having issues with Zigbee stuff. People ask me all the time, basically reliability. How reliable is this system? Basically, it all comes down to how reliable is your ISP or internet, essentially. Because as soon as your internet goes down, this whole thing goes down. As soon as your internet slows down, this whole system slows down. It's very ISP dependent, and it really scared me when I first started getting into this whole Smartthings, cloud-based stuff. I was like, oh man, this is, I really hope this works. And for me, I've always had great internet, so it hasn't been that much of a concern. And my Smartthings system has been really reliable. It's been really fast. I haven't had many issues. As far as Z-Wave versus Zigbee reliability, the Z-Wave has definitely been a lot better. I have had a couple of Z-Wave devices kind of sort of kick off the mesh network. I don't know why, don't know what happened, but all I had to essentially do was is detach or unpair the Z-Wave switch and replace it. Basically retie it back into the system, and it's stuck with all of its smart apps. It didn't lose any of its any of its functionality. It just had to basically be re-added to the network. and I've only had to do that a few times, so reliability there, it's been pretty good. Zigbee, not so much. I've definitely had some issues with a couple of Zigbee bulbs that I bought, just cheap, Wink bulbs, and they've gotten kicked off the network a few times, mainly because the Z-Wave is all mesh. This can all be, you can find tons of videos people discussing Z-Wave versus Zigbee, but Z-Wave is a mesh network, so basically every device daisy chains off each other. The Zigbee stuff, not so much. Zigbee is basically like an iPhone with a Wi-Fi based point. So basically, the further I walk away from my Wi-Fi router with my iPhone, the less the signal is going to be, the worse it's going to work. That's not the case with Z-Wave. If you have a Z-Wave device here, and then you have another Z-Wave device there, that signal is carried over and over down the line. So that's, I think, why Zigbee hasn't been as reliable as Z-Wave. So, here's another question, actually, which I've actually gotten a few times. How much did your system cost in total? Basically, what you got to break it down to is, each light switch is about, depending on what brand you get, it's about $30 to $35. Some go up in excess of $60, and then you basically times that to how many devices you want to control. So my whole system, including the Smartthings, I think I'm right around 35 devices, and I think I'm right around $1,500 or $1,600 total in my home automation setup. So that's kind of how that breaks down. And usually when people ask me, hey, I want to do this in my house, how much is it going to cost? And I ask them how many things you want to control, give them a price, and that's how pretty much you break it down. So that's pretty much the cost of this system. So here's the next question. This doesn't really have to do with Smartthings per se, but this person asked how I have my TVs connected through the Harmony Hub. Is your hub placed in the place where it can see the TV, or using extenders? So basically, for my Harmony Hub setup, I am using extenders. There's one tucked right underneath here for the kitchen TV. And there's another one on the other side of this wall facing the living room TV. And basically, the Harmony Hub itself is sitting in this media closet behind here. And that hub itself can reach all the devices in that closet. It sort of bounces the IR signal in there, and then these are just to strictly turn the TV on and change volume on the TVs. So that is how the Harmony is set up. And again, backing up, the Harmony is also talking to the Smartthings hub. So if you guys aren't familiar with the Harmony, Logitech Harmony, and how it works, it basically talks to the Smartthings, and you're able to control lights as well as TVs and receivers, things like that. Alright, so next question here is what kind of alarm system do you have? Do you mention in your other videos, market for one? So Smartthings itself is its own alarm system. You can tie it in, to other, I'm sure, Nest products, things like that. But the Smartthings itself has something called home monitoring. It's built right into the app, and it works out great. So basically, when I leave, that home monitoring system automatically arms the house. It ties in, turns all the lights off, and obviously if someone opens the door or motion is sensed anywhere on the property, it activates the alarm system. You can have it trigger alarms, send text messages, emails, send you a picture of what's going on. The Smartthings is actually a great security system in itself. Alright, here's another question. Someone was asking, what kind of light bulbs do I use? I'm actually using, I'm going to get a little more in depth in this question than it needs to be. I'm just using standard LED retrofit bulbs in almost every single fixture in my house. Everything's been converted to LED. And most importantly, I'm not using any Wi-Fi or even Z-Wave bulbs in sockets. Basically, the way I can break this down, I really hate seeing people do these home automation with strictly Philips Hue products, because you're basically negating the point of having home automation. You make things easier in your life. So these people, they're taping their light switches up and or hardwiring their switches and sticking these Wi-Fi Z-Wave type bulbs in their sockets, and it doesn't make life any easier. Sure, it's great to be able to walk around with your iPhone and turn lights on and off, and talk to the Echo unit, turn lights on and off, but nothing beats walking up to the wall and hitting a light switch and turning the light off when you want it to go out. So I highly recommend obviously LED is great. Buy the retrofit bulbs that work with, dimmers, Z-Wave dimmers, and just buy Z-Wave switches, whether they're dimmers or switches in the wall. It keeps the house looking good. Number one, you'll have taped switches everywhere, and makes things, keeps everything easy to use. Again, I can't stress it enough. And not only that, when your internet goes down, which it happens often. It actually happened to me a couple months ago. The internet was down for, I think it was like 5 or 6 hours, and your Wi-Fi bulb is up in that socket. Either you're gonna have to go over and unscrew the thing, or you're stuck with that bulb being on or off, which is even worse because it becomes nighttime. No matter what, if the internet goes down, I can still walk over to that light switch, hit the switch, the lights come on. So that's why I recommend Z-Wave switches as opposed to Z-Wave bulbs and sockets, things like that. You got to be aware of running into a problem where you got to manually hit that switch on or off. Actually, so right beneath that last question, someone was asking what kind of thermostat I was using. Again, I'm actually going to tie this to what I was just talking about. I'm using a simple Z-Wave remote thermostat. It's not a Nest, it's nothing powerful like that. Strictly, it's basically a Z-Wave radio built into a normal, everyday, programmable thermostat. And the great thing about that, again, if the internet goes down, you're not going to lose your thermostat. The thermostat's still going to work, especially live up here in the Northeast. I don't want my thermostat ever screwing up. So I like the fact that it's very plain Jane, standard programmable thermostat with a Z-Wave radio just added on. I've actually heard horror stories of people's Nests, freaking out because they've had a low battery or lost their Wi-Fi and doing some crazy updates, things like that, and people have lost their heat or vice versa, their house is overheated. And I read something where all their wine bottles exploded or something like that. Which is crazy to me. Someone would trust their something as important as their HVAC to a device that's so quirky and requires updates and things like that. So I'm using, like I said, I can't even remember the brand, just a standard programmable Z-Wave thermostat. And so basically all the smarts is in Smartthings. So the worst that's going to happen is if the Smartthings goes down, and I think actually since the version 2 hub, it does store a lot of information, so I still probably will get my timers. So basically when it becomes day, the heat turns down, or night, things like that. I don't know what I exactly have a program, but for the most part, no matter what, as long as that thing has 2 AA batteries in it, my furnace is still going to work, which is very important. So that's what I'm using for thermostat. Alright, so I think I'm going to end this with this very last question here. This person asked, what do I need to get started? What do you recommend? Basically, I recommend just go out and get a hub and get a couple of switches and try this system out. See if you like it, and just play with it a little bit before you go overboard and buy every single device in your house a Z-Wave switch and get over your head. That's kind of what I recommend. And the great thing about this system is you can just buy a hub and add on down the line. You know what I mean? So basically you get a hub and a door sensor, and you got a nice little security system right there. And then down the line you can go from just security to automation. So that's people that are going out and buying things like Simply Safe and stuff like that. I'm telling them they're wasting their money. Get a Smartthings system with a couple of door sensors, and you're going to have a really nice security system. Then down the line, if you want to step into home automation, you're already set up to do so, and you're saving yourself money because the hub itself is so versatile. So that's kind of where I recommend to start. They have the starter kit out there. I don't know what it is. It starts at like $100 and goes up to like $200, and it's well worth the money. It's an investment because basically you're gonna add on down the line and already be ready to go. So that's what I recommend for Smartthings if you're just starting out. All right, so that pretty much ties up this quick little Q&A video. Hope you guys answered most of your guys' questions. Like I said, I was just kind of trying to scroll through and read off some of the comments and things like that. I'll definitely be posting some more videos as soon as I start kind of changing things up and adding things. Not only that, I'm probably going to try to post some other videos of some of the other things I do. I do a lot of lighting and sound stuff, So I got some interesting stuff to show you guys there, and I think I might try to go in that direction with this channel as well, because it's something fun to do, and you know, I enjoy doing all this. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe and keep commenting, and we'll see you in the next one.